Independence Day. The morning of July 4th of 1893 broke gray and squally. The weather threatened to dull the elaborate fireworks display that Frank Millet had planned as a further boost for the exposition's attendance, which, despite steady week-to-week increases, still lagged behind expectations. The sun emerged late in the morning. Those squalls continued to sweep Jackson Park through much of the day. By late afternoon, a soft gold light bathed the court of honor and storm clouds walled the northern sky. The storms came no closer. The crowds built quickly. Holmes and Minnie and Anna found themselves locked within an immense throng of humid men and women. Many people carried blankets and hampers of food, but quickly found that no room remained to spread a picnic. There were few children. The entire Columbian Guard seemed to be present, their pale blue uniforms standing out like crocuses against black loam. Gradually, the gold light cooled to lavender. Everyone began walking towards the lake. For half a mile along the splendid sweep of the lakefront, men were massed 100 deep. The Tribune reported, "This black sea of people was restless. For hours they sat and waited, filling the air with a strange, uneasy uproar. One man began singing, nearer, my God, to thee." And immediately a few thousand people joined in. As darkness fell, everyone watched the sky for the first rockets of the night's display. Thousands of Chinese lanterns hung from trees and railings. Red lights glowed from each car of the Ferris wheel. On the lake, 100 or more ships, yachts, and launches lay at anchor, with colored lights on their bows and booms and strung along their rigging. The crowd was ready to cheer for anything. It cheered when the exposition orchestra played "Home Sweet Home," a song that never failed to reduce grown men and women to tears, especially the newest arrival to the city. It cheered when the lights came on within the court of honor and all the palaces became outlined in gold. It cheered when the big searchlights atop the manufacturers and liberal arts building began sweeping the crowd, and when colorful plumes of water, peacock feathers, the Tribune called them, began erupting from the MacMonnies fountain. At 9 o'clock, however, the crowd hushed. A small bright light had arisen in the sky to the north and appeared to be drifting along the lakeshore toward the wharf. One of the searchlights found it and revealed it to be a large manned balloon. A light flared well below its basket. In the next instant, bursts of sparks in red, white, and blue formed a huge American flag against the black sky. The balloon and flag drifted overhead. The searchlight followed. Its beam clearly outlined the sulfur cloud that trailed the balloon. Seconds later, rockets began arcing over the lakeshore. Men with flares raced along the beach, lighting mortars, and other men aboard barges set off large rotating flares and hurled bombs into the lake, causing the water to explode in extravagant geysers of red, white, and blue. Bombs and rockets followed in intensifying numbers until the climax of the show, when an elaborate wire network erected at Festival Hall on the lakeshore abruptly flared into a giant explosive portrait of George Washington. The crowd cheered. Everyone began moving at the same time, and soon a great black tide was moving toward the exits and the stations of the Alley L and Illinois Central. Holmes and the Williams sisters waited hours for their turn to board one of the northbound trains, but the wait did nothing to dampen their spirits. That night, the Oker family heard joking and laughter coming from the upstairs flat at 1220 Wrightwood. There was good reason for the merriment within. Holmes had further sweetened that night with an astonishingly generous offer to Minnie and Anna. Before bed, Anna wrote home to her aunt in Texas to tell her the excellent news. "Sister, brother Harry, and myself will go to Milwaukee tomorrow, and we'll go to Old Orchard Beach, Maine, by the way of St. Lawrence River. We'll visit 2 weeks in Maine, then on to New York. Brother Harry thinks I am talented. He wants me to look look around about studying art. Then we will sail for Germany by way of London and Paris. If I like it, I will stay and study art. Brother Harry says you need never trouble any more about me, financially or otherwise. He and sister will see to me. Write me right away, she added, an address to Chicago, and the letter will be forwarded to me. She said nothing about her trunk, which was still in Midlothian awaiting shipment to Chicago. She would have to get along without it for now. Once it arrived, she could arrange by telegraph to have it forwarded as well, perhaps to Maine or New York, so that she could have all her things in hand for the voyage to Europe. Anna went to bed that night with her heart still racing from the excitement of the fair and Holmes' surprise. Later, William Capp, an attorney with the Texas firm of Capp and Canty, said Anna had no property of her own, and such a change as described in her letter meant everything for her. The next morning promised to be pleasant as well, for Holmes had announced he would take Anna, just her, to Englewood for a brief tour of his World's Fair Hotel. He had to attend to a few last-minute business matters before the departure for Milwaukee. In the meantime, Minnie would ready the Wrightwood flat for whatever tenant happened to rent it next. Holmes was such a charming man, and now that Anna knew him, she saw that he really was quite handsome. When his marvelous blue eyes caught hers, they seemed to warm her entire body. Minnie had done well indeed. If I sound a little dead, it's because I just read that entire chapter without recording. Now I'm recording. Now we're good. I read that entire chapter at the start of this game without recording. Now we're on to the chapter that I'm actually on, the next one. Subchapter is called Worry. At the fairgrounds later that night, the ticket men counted their sales and found that for a single day, July 4th, paid attendance had totaled 283,273, far greater than the entire first week of the fair. It was the first clear evidence that Chicago might have created something extraordinary after all, and it renewed Burnham's hopes that the fair at last would achieve the level of attendance he had hoped for. But the next day, only 79,034 paying visitors came to see the fair. 3 days later, the number sagged to 44,537. The bankers carrying the fair's debt grew anxious. The fair's auditor already had discovered that Burnham's department had spent over $22 million to build the fair, roughly $660 million in 21st century dollars, more than twice the amount originally planned. The bankers were pressuring the exposition's directors to appoint a retrenchment committee empowered not just to seek out ways of reducing the fair's expenses, but to execute whatever cost-saving measures it deemed necessary, including layoffs and elimination of departments and committees. Burnham knew that placing the future of the fair in the hands of bankers would mean its certain failure. The only way to ease the pressure was to boost the total of paid admissions to far higher levels. Estimates held that to avoid financial failure, a humiliation for Chicago's prideful leading men who counted themselves lords of the dollar, the fair would have to sell a minimum of 100,000 tickets a day for the rest of its run. To have even a hope of achieving this, the railroads would have to reduce their fares. Frank Millet would have to intensify his efforts to attract people from all corners of the country. With the nation's economic depression growing ever more profound, banks failing, suicides multiplying, it seemed an impossibility. Next subchapter is called Claustrophobia. Holmes knew that most, if not all, of his hotel guests would be at the fair. He showed Anna the drugstore, restaurant, and barbershop and took her up to the roof to give her a broader view of Englewood and the pretty tree-shaded neighborhood that surrounded his corner. He ended the tour at his office, where he offered Anna a seat and excused himself. He picked up a sheaf of paper and began reading. Distractedly, he asked Anna if she would mind going into the adjacent room, the walk-in vault, to retrieve for him a document he had left inside. Cheerfully, she complied. Holmes followed quietly. At first, it seemed as though the door had closed by accident. The room was utterly without light. Anna pounded on the door and called for Harry. She listened, then pounded again. She was not frightened, just embarrassed. She did not like the darkness, which was more complete than anything she had experienced. Far darker, certainly, than any moonless night in Texas. Alright, trigger warning word, I guess. She raped the door with her knuckles and listened again. The air grew stale. Holmes listened. He sat peacefully in a chair by the wall that separated his office and the vault. Time passed. It was really very peaceful. A soft breeze drifted through the room. Cross ventilation being one of the benefits of a corner office. The breeze, still cool, carried the morning scent of prairie grasses and moist soil. Anna removed her shoe and beat the heel against the door. The room was growing warmer. Sweat filmed her face and arms. She guessed that Harry, unaware of her plight, had gone elsewhere in the building. That would explain why he still had not come despite her pounding. Perhaps he had gone to check on something in the shops below. As she considered this, she became a bit frightened. The room had grown substantially warmer. Catching a clean breath was difficult. I'm going to shoot this computer. Catching a deep breath was difficult, and she needed a bathroom. She would be so apologetic. She could not show him how afraid she was. Oh, he would be so apologetic, sorry. She could not show him how afraid she was. She tried shifting her thoughts to the journey they would begin that afternoon. That she, a Texas schoolmarm, soon would be walking the streets of London and Paris, still seemed an impossibility. Yet Harry had promised it and made all the arrangements. In just a few hours, she would board a train for the short trip to Milwaukee, and soon afterwards she, Minnie, and Harry would be on their way to the lovely, cool valley of St. Lawrence River between New York and Canada. She saw herself sitting on the spacious porch of some fine riverside hotel, sipping tea and watching the sun descend. She hammered the door again, and now also the wall between the vault and Harry's breeze-filled office. The panic came, as it always did. Holmes imagined Anna crumbled in a corner. If he chose, he could rush to the door, throw it open, hold her in his arms, and weep with her at the tragedy just barely averted. He could do it at the last minute, in the last few seconds. He could do that. Or he could open the door and look in on Anna and give her a big smile, just to let her know that this was no accident. Then close the door again and slam it, and return to his chair to see what might happen next. Or he could flood the vault right now with gas. The hiss and repulsive odor would tell her just as clearly as a smile that something extraordinary was underway. He could do any of these things. He had to concentrate to hear the sobs from within. The airtight fittings, the iron walls, and the mineral wool insulation deadened most of the sound, but he had found with experience that if he listened at the gas pipe, he heard everything much more clearly. This was the time he most craved. It brought him peace. It brought him a period of sexual release that seemed to last for hours, even though in fact the screams and pleading faded rather quickly. He filled the vault with gas just to be sure. Holmes returned to Wrightwood apartment and told Minnie to get ready. Anna was waiting for them at the castle. He held Minnie and kissed her and told her how lucky he was and how much He liked her sister. During the train ride to Inglewood, he seemed well rested and at peace, as if he had just ridden his bicycle for miles and miles. Oh, I bet he did. I bet he did. Let's go ahead and do a quick drop. Sexual release from killing women. This guy. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. The way Eric Larson, the author, the way he also described kind of what the thought process was, right? It wasn't just about killing her. It was the process. It was like, what could I do? I could be the white knight saving her from what's about to happen. I could do that, right? A lot of things he could do and just didn't do it. Now let's go spectate SWATs. I wonder where he got all that. Because that's not like, that's not regular dialogue, I don't think, with respect to like how an author writes. Not saying he's not capable of writing good stuff, but if you're an author, my thought is that unless you're incredibly sadistic, I thought I saw something. Unless you're incredibly sadistic, getting to that level of thought of, I could save this girl, or I could let her suffer for the rest of her life. The rest of her short, limited, gas-infested struggle of a life. That's pretty like... I wonder if he read some diaries from this guy. I need players, man. Where are the players at? There's got to be people around here. People, free kill, hello? Nothing? Dude, I want to keep reading. What are we doing here? I don't want to play this game. The update stinks, man. Anybody? Nobody? Nobody's here, no chance. How's nobody here? But yeah, very interested to find out, and I'll do my own research after. I want to know kind of how he got this, because it's not like, it's not like this information is very, how they say, normal, right? This is like diaries of a murderer, diaries of an absolute assassin. He was just a lady killer in all, in the literal sense. He was a lady killer. And I don't know, I just think there we go. Let's continue reading. I think you can't get that level of dialogue without knowing more than you let on. So let's find out. Two days later, on July 7th, the Oker family received a letter from Henry Gordon stating that he no longer needed the apartment. The letter came as a surprise. The Okers believed Gordon and the two sisters still occupied the flat. Laura Oker went upstairs to check. She knocked and heard nothing, then entered. "I do not know how to get out of the house," she said, but there were evidences of hasty packing, a few books and odds and ends being left lying about. If there had been any writing in the books, all traces were removed, for the fly leaves had been torn out. Also, on July 7th, the Wells Fargo agent in Midlothian, Texas, loaded a large trunk into the baggage car of a northern-bound train. The trunk, Anna's trunk, was addressed to Miss Nanny Williams, C.O.H. Gordon, 1220 Wrightwood Avenue, Chicago. The trunk reached the city several days later. A Wells Fargo drayman tried to deliver it to the Wrightwood address, but could not locate anyone named Williams or Gordon. He returned the trunk to the Wells Fargo office. No one came to claim it. Holmes called upon an Englewood resident named Cephas Humphrey, who owned his own team and dray, and made a living transporting furniture, crates, and other large objects from place to place. Holmes asked him to pick up a box and a trunk. "I want you to come after the stuff about dark," Holmes said, "as I do not care to have the neighbors see it go away." Humphrey showed up as requested. Holmes led him into a castle and upstairs to a windowless room with a heavy door. "It was an awful-looking place," Humphrey said. "There were no windows in it at all, and only a heavy door opening it. It made my flesh creep to go in there. I feel as if something was wrong, but Mr. Holmes did not give me much time to think about that." The box was long, rectangle made of wood, roughly the dimensions.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and
advertisements are they're just Satan. That's Satan working, trying to piss you off. I'm not angry. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm gonna keep reading about this nut. Thank God I'm reading, man. The box was a long rectangle made of wood, roughly the dimensions of a coffin. Humphrey carried it down first. Out on the sidewalk, he stood it on end. Holmes, watching from above, rapped hard on the window and called down. "Don't do that. Lay it down flat." Humphrey did so, then walked back upstairs to retrieve the trunk. It was heavy, but its weight gave him no trouble. Holmes instructed him to take the long box to the Union Depot and told him where on the platform to place it. Apparently Holmes had made prior arrangements with an express agent to pick up the box and load it on a train. He did not disclose its destination. As for the trunk, Humphrey could not recall where he took it, but later evidence suggests he drove it to the home of Charles Chapel near Cook County Hospital. The dude is... What's the term? Starts with an A. It's not... It's the way you say things. Announce? No. I'm trying to think of it before I read it. I know I'm going to read it. It's not announce. It's like a form of expression. It's the way you articulate. There you go. He's going to articulate the corpse. Get rid of the flesh. Let's see if I'm correct. Soon afterward, Holmes brought an unexpected but welcome gift to the family of his assistant, Benjamin Peitzel. He gave Peitzel's wife, Carrie, a collection of dresses, several pairs of shoes, and some hats that had belonged to his cousin, a Miss Minnie Williams, who had gotten married and moved east and no longer needed her old things. He recommended that Carrie cut up the dresses and use the material to make clothing for her 3 daughters. Carrie was very grateful. Holmes also surprised his caretaker, Pat Quinlan, with a gift, 2 sturdy trunks, each bearing the initials MRW. Next subchapter, called Storm and Fire. Burnham's work did not cease. The pace at his office did not slow. The fair buildings were complete and all exhibits were in place. But just as surely as silver tarnishes, the fair became subject to the inevitable forces of degradation and decline and tragedy. On Sunday, July 9th, a day of heat and stillness, the Ferris wheel became one of the most sought-after places to be, as did the basket of the Midway's captive balloon. The balloon, named Chicago, was filled with 100,000 cubic feet of hydrogen and controlled by a tether connected to a winch. By 3 o'clock that afternoon, it had made 35 trips aloft to an altitude of 1,000 feet. As far as the concessions, German aerialists was concerned, the day had been a perfect one for ascension, so still, he estimated that a plumb line dropped from the basket would have touched the winch directly below. At 3 o'clock, however, the manager of the concession, G.F. Morgan, checked his instruments and noted a sudden decline in barometric pressure, evidence that a storm was forming. He halted the sale of new tickets and ordered his men to reel in the balloon. The operators of the Ferris wheel, he saw, did not take equivalent precautions. The wheel continued to turn. Clouds gathered, the sky purpled, and a breeze rose from the northwest. The sky sagged towards the ground, and a small funnel cloud appeared, which began wobbling south along the lakeshore toward the fair. The Ferris wheel was full of passengers who watched with mounting concern as the funnel did its own danse du ventre across Jackson Park, directly toward the Midway. At the base of the captive balloon, Manager Morgan ordered his men to grab mooring ropes and hang on tight. Within Jackson Park, the sudden shift from sunlight to darkness drew Burnham outside. A powerful wind reared from all directions. Lunch wraps took flight and wheeled in the air like gulls. The sky seemed to reach into the exposition, and somewhere glass shattered. Not the gentle tinkling of a window extinguished by a stone, but the hurt dog yelp of large sheets falling to the ground. In the agriculture building, a giant pane of glass fell from the roof and shattered the table at which, just a few seconds earlier, a young woman had been selling candy. 6 roof panes blew from the manufacturers and liberal arts building. Exhibitors raced to cover their displays with duck cloth. The wind tore a 40 square foot segment from the dome of the machinery building and lifted the roof off the fair's Hungarian cafe. The crew of one of Olmsted's electric launches made a hasty landing to evacuate all passengers and had just begun motoring toward shelter when a burst of wind caught the boat's awning and whipped the 5-ton craft onto its side. The pilot and conductor swam to safety. Giant feathers rocked in the air. The 28 ostriches of the Midway Ostrich Farm bore the loss with their usual aplomb. In the wheel, riders braced themselves. One woman fainted. A passenger later wrote to Engineering News, "It took the combined effort of 2 of us to close the doors tightly. The wind blew so hard the raindrops appeared to be flowing almost horizontally instead of vertically. The wheel continued to turn, however, as if no wind were blowing. Passengers felt only a slight vibration. The letter writer, apparently an engineer, estimated the wind deflected the wheel to one side by only 1.5 inches. The riders watched as the wind gripped the adjacent captive balloon and tore it from the men holding it down and briefly yanked Manager Morgan into the sky. The wind pummeled the balloon as if it were an inverted punching bag, then tore it to pieces and cast shreds of its 9,000 yards of silk as far as half a mile away. Morgan took the disaster calmly. "I got some pleasure out of watching the storm come up," he said, "and it was a sight of a lifetime to see the balloon go to pieces, even if it was a costly bit of sightseeing for the people who own stock in the company." Whether the storm had anything to do with the events of the next day, Monday, July the 10th, can't be known, but the timing was suspicious. A storm was a-brewing. A storm was afoot. Let's find out. On Monday, shortly after 1 o'clock, as Burnham supervised repairs and crews removed storm debris from the grounds, smoke began to arise from the cupola of the cold storage tower, where the fire of June 17th also had taken light. The tower was made of wood and housed a large iron smoke stack, which vented 3 boilers located in the main building below. Paradoxically, heat was required to produce cold. The stack rose to a point 30 inches short of the top of the tower, where an additional iron assembly called a thimble was to have been placed to extend the stack so that it cleared the top completely. The thimble was a crucial part of architect Frank Burnham's design, meant to shield the surrounding wooden walls from the superheated gases exiting the stack. For some reason, however, the contractor had not installed it. The building was like a house whose chimney ended not above the roof but inside the attic. The first alarm reached the fire department at 1:32 p.m. Engines thundered to the building. 20 firemen led by Captain James Fitzpatrick entered the main structure and climbed to its roof. From there, they made their way to the tower and climbed stairs another 70 feet to the tower's exterior balcony. Using ropes, they hauled up a line of hose and a 25-foot ladder. They secured the hose firmly to the tower. Fitzpatrick and his men didn't realize it, but the fire at the top of the tower had set a lethal trap. Fragments of burning debris had fallen into the space between the iron stack and the inner walls of the tower. Made of smooth white pine. These flaming brands ignited a fire that, in those narrow confines, soon depleted the available air and extinguished its own flames, leaving in their place a superheated plasma that needed only a fresh supply of oxygen to become explosive. As the firemen on the tower balcony concentrated on the fire above them, a small plume of white smoke appeared at their feet. The fire department rang a second alarm at 1:41 p.m. and activated the big siren at the exposition's machinery building. Thousands of visitors now moved towards the smoke and packed the lawns and paths.
Where's your playlist taking you?
I hope it's taking me to the edge of a cliff to where I can throw you. That's where I'm hoping it takes me.
With over 4,000.
I'm never shopping there. Whoever you are. Never shopping there. Just letting you know. Oh, this team won. Perfect timing. Uncut Pension. What a name. Uncut Pension. Well, you better hope so. Okay. Some brought lunch. Burnham came, as did Davis. The Colombian Guard arrived in force to clear the way for additional engines and ladder wagons. Riders on the Ferris wheel got the clearest, most horrific view of what happened next. Never, the fire department reported, was so terrible a tragedy witnessed by such a sea of agonized faces. Suddenly, flames erupted from the tower at a point about 50 feet below Fitzpatrick and his men. Fresh air rushed into the tower. An explosion followed. To the firemen, according to the department's official report, it appeared as though the gaseous contents of the air shaft surrounding the smokestack had become ignited, and the entire interior of the tower at once became a seething furnace. Fireman John Davis was standing on the balcony with Captain Fitzpatrick and the other men. "I saw there was only one chance, and I made up my mind to take it," Davis said. "I made a leap for the hose and had the good luck to catch it." The rest of the boys seemed transfixed with horror and unable to move. Okay, so doesn't seem like the fair was going so well, right? It seems like some shit fucked up, right? Which, you know, I can only assume what the technology was back in the day, and you know, that must have been a whole list of just problems, ethically, mechanically, that, you know, they just had no idea what the hell to do with. I know this guy's around here. Shoot me, dude. Where you at? Oh no, don't let me. Oh no, 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 no. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, I really didn't mean to do that. My keyboard isn't like... My keyboard and mouse aren't even on my body right now. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm literally just trying to like... Oh, dude, no way, no way. Oh no. That is embarrassing. I'm telling you, man, my keyboard and mouse aren't on me. And that happened to these guys. Alright, I gotta get out of here. I was trying to like throw some BS shots out. I guess that happens, man. Fair's not going well. Oh, that's embarrassing. There was a whole squad. Wait, I'm over here, guys. Yeah. No, I'm alone. This is perfect for you. I'm alone, dude. Come on. Come on. What? Why? Come on. Hey, I'm over here. Over here. Does anybody want to send me back to my book, please? Do y'all mind? Is that a train? somebody there? Thought I saw somebody. I did. Hey, hey. Come on, man. I'm friendly. Oh, dude, you can't let me do. I'm not even. I don't even know how to explain my playing position right now, dude. You can't have this. Come on, man, I'm friendly. Oh, this is not happening to me. I'm not even, I haven't played in like weeks, man. I can't be having a good game. I'm not even playing. Look at me taking on squads. Alright, now for real, I need a team to kind of take me out right here. Anybody? Gosh, man, this is so different. I hate this update, I really do. Oh my god, yeah, I can use that to do absolutely nothing. Great. Hello, teams? Teams? Where are we, teams? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Hey, friends. Thought those were real people. Do you mind? Ooh, real play? No, never mind. Damn. Sincerely, just trying to, like, you know, like, just snipe me, take me back to my book, please. It's actually getting good. I could also take fall damage. But that's what quitters do. I'm not a quitter. It's different. Wait, maybe? Thought I saw something. No. Got action, nice. Hey, friends. Alright, so either these dudes are really, really bad, or I'm just on fire right now. And I don't think it's the second one. I need some gold. I'm solo queuing in squads. I don't understand why. I'm out here actively trying to get God. Friends, I bring loot. Oh shoot. What the oh no. Oh dude, this isn't happening. How the hell did I get 10 kills? Alright, here we go. Friends. If you're in a squad, you can take me out, man. Just gotta shoot me from 2 different angles. It's not hard. I promise. Me getting killed has taken a lot longer than it should have. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Not seeing anything. Are they up there? Is that where I gotta go? I hate this update. I really do. There we go. That's how you play as a team. Jeez, man. How is that so hard? Man, just trying to read over here. Alright, let's continue. Davis and one other man rode the hose to the ground. The firemen still on the balcony knew the situation was deadly and began to tell each other goodbye. Witnesses watched them hug and shake hands. Captain Fitzpatrick grabbed a rope and swung down through the fire to the main roof below, where he lay with a fractured leg and internal injuries. Half his huge mustache burned away. Other men jumped to their deaths, in some cases penetrating the main roof. Damn. Fire Marshal Murphy and two other firemen on the ground climbed a ladder to retrieve Fitzpatrick. They lowered him by rope to colleagues waiting below. He was alive, but fading. In all, the blaze killed 12 firemen and 3 workers. Fitzpatrick died at 9 o'clock that night. The next day, attendance exceeded 100,000. The still smoking rubble of the cold storage building had proved irresistible. The coroner immediately convened an inquest during which a jury heard testimony from Daniel Burnham, Frank Burnham, officials of Hercules Iron Works, and various firemen. Daniel Burnham testified he had not known of the previous fire or the omitted thimble, and claimed that since the building was a private concession, he had no authority over its construction beyond approving its design. On Tuesday, July 18th, the jury charged him, Fire Marshal Murphy, and 2 Hercules officers with criminal negligence and referred the charges to a grand jury. Damn. Burnham was stunned but kept his silence. The attempt to hold you in any degree responsible or censurable for a loss of life is an outrage, wrote Dion Geraldine. His construction superintendent at the fair, the men who gave this verdict must have been very stupid or sadly misinformed. Under a customary procedure, Burnham and the others would have been placed under arrest, pending bail, but in this instance, even the coroner's office seemed taken aback. The sheriff made no move to arrest the director of works. Burnham posted bond the next morning. With the stink of charred wood still heavy in the air, Burnham closed the roof walks of the Transportation and Manufacturer Liberal Arts Building and the balconies and upper galleries of the administration building, fearing that a fire in the building or among their exhibits could start a panic and cause a tragedy of even greater magnitude. Hundreds of people had crowded. Oh, for... Do you ever shut the fuck up? Oh, I like this song. Lost my place, sorry. Hundreds of people had crowded the roof walk of the manufacturer's liberal arts building each day, but their only way down was by elevator. Burnham imagined terrified men and women and children trying to slide down the glass flanks of the roof and breaking through, then falling 200 feet to the exhibit floor. And if things could not get any blacker, on the same day that the coroner's jury ordered Burnham's arrest, July 18th, the directors of the exposition bowed to bank pressure and voted to establish a retrenchment committee with nearly unrestricted powers to cut costs throughout the fair, and appointed 3 cold-eyed men to staff it. A subsequent resolution approved by the exposition company's directors stated that as of August 1st, no expenditures whatever connected with the construction, maintenance, or conduct of the exposition shall be incurred unless authorized by said committee. It was clear from the start that the committee's primary target was Burnham's Department of Works. Equally clear, at least to Burnham, was that the last thing the fair needed right now, as he and Millett continued their fight to boost the rate of paid admissions a campaign with its own necessary costs, was a troika of penny pinchers sitting in judgment on every new expense. Millet had some extraordinary ideas for events in August, including an elaborate midway ball during which fair officials, including Burnham, would dance with Dahomen women and Algerian belly dancers. That the committee would view the expense of this ball and other Millet events as frivolous seemed certain. Yet Burnham knew that such expenditures, as well as continued spending on police, garbage removal, and maintenance of roads and lawns, was vital. He feared that the retrenchment committee would cripple the fair for once and for all. Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, when you have, 55 minutes, we can do one more. When you have something so hectic and crazy as people witnessing others fall to their death, you know, what is the state supposed to do? Let you continue on as if nothing's wrong? Like, they have to save face as well, because, you know, you don't want people saying they don't care about our lives and then just, you're going to go bankrupt for real. So these penny pinchers, they might, you know, I think maybe it's the kiss of death, maybe it's not, we'll see, depending on how the book finishes. But next subchapter is called Love. Love. The remains of the cold storage fire were still visible as a party of school teachers arrived from St. Louis, accompanied by a young reporter. 24 teachers had won a contest held by the St. Louis Republic that entitled them to a free stay at the fair at the newspaper's expense. Along with assorted friends and family members, for a total of 40 travelers, they had piled into a luxurious sleeping car named Benares, provided by the Chicago and Alton Railroad. They arrived at Chicago's Union Depot on Monday, July 17th at 8 o'clock in the morning and went immediately by carriage to their hotel. I'm just going to keep reading. The Varsity, located close enough to the fair that from its second floor balcony the teachers could see the Ferris wheel, the top of the Manufacturers and Liberal Arts Building, and Big Mary's Gilded Head. The reporter, Theodore Dreiser, was young and suffused with a garish self-confidence that drew the attention of the young women. He flirted with all, but of course was drawn most to the one woman who seemed least interested, a small, pretty, and reserved woman named Sarah Osborne White, whom a past suitor had nicknamed Jug for her tendency to wear brown. That's not where I was thinking. She was hardly Dreiser's type. By now he was sexually experienced and in the middle of an entirely physical affair with his landlady. To him, Sarah White exuded an intense something concealed by an air of supreme innocence and maidenly reserve. Dreiser joined the teachers on the Ferris wheel and accompanied them on a visit to Buffalo Bill's show, where Colonel Cody himself greeted the women and shook hands with each. Dreiser followed the ladies through the Manufacturer and Liberal Arts Building, where he said a man could trail round from place to place for a year and not get tired. In the midway, Dreiser persuaded James J. Corbett to meet the women. Corbett was the boxer who had downed John L. Sullivan in the Great Fight of September of 1892, a battle that had consumed the entire front page of the next morning's Chicago Tribune. Corbett, too, shook the women's hands, although one teacher declined the opportunity. Her name was Sullivan. Every chance he got, Dreiser tried to separate Sarah White from the Republic's entourage, which Dreiser called the 40-odd, But Sarah had brought along her sister Rose, which complicated things. On at least one occasion, Dreiser tried to kiss Sarah. She told him not to be sentimental. I like that. Alright, what the hell's going on here? Why am I not spectating people yet? Where did we land? Oh, yay. A fair fight. Smells like something. Yes. I'll work with it. Oh, shoot. Oh no. Ugh. This is not happening. What the Whoa, 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 where? Dude's in a bush. Ah, nice. Alright. Let's continue. He failed at seduction, but was himself successfully seduced by the fair. It had swept him, he said, into a dream from which I do not recover for months. Most captivating were the nights, when the long shadows have all merged into one and the stars began to gleam out over the lake and the domes of the palaces over the White City. Sarah White remained on his mind long after he and the 40-odd departed the fair. In St. Louis he wrote to her and courted her, and in the process resolved to make more of himself as a writer. He left St. Louis for a job editing a rural Michigan newspaper, but found that the realities of being a small-town editor did not live up to the fantasy. After a few other stops, he reached Pittsburgh. He wrote to Sarah White and visited her whenever he returned to St. Louis. He asked her to sit in his lap. She refused. She did, however, accept his proposal of marriage. Dreiser showed a friend, John Maxwell, of the St. Louis Globe-Democrat, her photograph. Where Dreiser saw an enticing woman of mystery, Maxwell saw a schoolmarm of drab demeanor. He tried to warn Dreiser, if you marry now, and a conventional and narrow woman at that, one older than you're gone. It was good advice for a man like Dreiser, but Dreiser did not take it. The Ferris wheel became a vector for love. Couples asked permission to be married at the highest point of the wheel. Luther Rice never allowed it, but in 2 cases where the couples already had mailed invitations, he did permit weddings in his office. Despite the wheel's inherent romantic potential, however, rides at night never became popular. The favorite hour was the golden time between 5 and 6 in the evening. Holmes, newly free and land rich, brought a new woman to the fair, Georgina Yoke, whom he had met earlier in the year at the department store Schlesinger and Meyer, where she worked as a saleswoman. She had grown up in Franklin, Indiana, and lived there with her parents until 1891, where she set out for a bigger, more glamorous life in Chicago. She was only 23 when she met Holmes, but her small size and sun-blonde hair made her look much younger, almost like a child, save for the sharp features of her face and the intelligence that inhabited her very large blue eyes. She had never met anyone like him. He was handsome, articulate, and clearly well off. He even possessed property in Europe. She felt a certain sadness for him, however. He was so alone. All his family was dead, save one aunt living in Africa. His last uncle had just died and left him a large fortune consisting of property in the South, and in Fort Worth, Texas. Holmes gave her many presents, among them a Bible, diamond earrings, and a locket, a little heart, she said, with pearls. At the fair, he took her on a Ferris wheel and hired a gondola and walked with her on the dark, fragrant paths of the wooded island in the soft glow of Chinese lanterns. He asked her to be his wife. She agreed. He cautioned, however, that for the marriage he would have to use a different name. Henry Mansfield Howard. It was his dead uncle's name, he said. The uncle was blood proud and had bequeathed Holmes his estate on condition he first adopt the uncle's name in full. Holmes had obliged out of respect for his uncle's memory. Meyer Harrison too believed he was in love with a New Orleans woman named Annie Howard. He was 68 and a widower, twice over. She was in her 20s. No one knew exactly where in her 20s, but estimates put her between 21 and 27 years old. She was very plump, by one account, and full of life. She had come to Chicago for the duration of the fair and was renting a mansion near the mayor's. She spent her days at the fair buying art. Harrison and Miss Howard had some news for the city, but the mayor had no plans to reveal it until October 28th, when the exposition would host American Cities Day. His day, really, 2 days before the official close, but the day when he would get to stand before several thousand mayors from around the country and revel in his stature as mayor of Chicago, the city that built the greatest fair of all time. And if news doesn't travel quickly, the city that also saw the fair have a bunch of people fall to their death. That's what you want in a mayor, right? Jackass. That is the end of that subsection. I'm going to go ahead and take a pause for the cause here. My little brother has just left the building. Didn't even say hello. So, this dude is just a serial killer. I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it. Get it? Sugar, cereal, whatever. Dude's a serial killer, and the city's going through so much crap that they don't care about this dude running a rampage because they're too focused on the glamour, the glitz and the glamour and the good press of this exposition looking as beautiful as it can, right? And they want to save the date for October 28th so that they can show face and prove that they're a proud city, you know. I mean, I was going to say you can't write this stuff, but it's in a book, right? Yeah, man, I don't question the merits of the craziness of the big city. I mean, you hear some of the stories that go on here in Los Angeles that are never printed in the press, but, you know, they happen. I can only imagine that they still happen, you know, to innocent young girls and whatnot. There's still light out, so I'll go ahead and keep reading. I like to keep these within the hour, but I don't want to force it either. Let's see. Next chapters are little thickums. They're little thickums. Got about... Oh wow, I can do that. I can pull this out in maybe 2 videos. Okay. All right. Well, this will be the end of this video. Yeah, after this game is over, of course. And I mean, thanks for watching. Yeah, it's been good. It's been fun. It's been very entertaining. I think doing this solo squatting queue was better content for watching. Just because when I'm watching it back, I like to... It's not that I don't want to play in the bushes like I used to in previous videos, but I do like the feeling of knowing that there's like a gunfight going on behind the scenes. And even if there's not, right, there's team camaraderie, and you see that happening between random teams. So I just like that. I think it's a better feng shui, if you will. What we got? John Wick. Lame movies, dude. Lame. Can you guys hit your shots? Yes. Shoot. Oh, sister. I don't think John knows that he has permission to shoot the gun. This guy. Yeah, take the car. Go ahead. What a good teammate. I take back what I said about the movies, John. How troll would it be if he took it all the way to the end and just let go of the E key? Oh, yep. Give your team a ping. Give your team a ping. Don't fight this alone. You're not that good. Don't fight this alone. Alright, Vegeta's just ass. This dude about to throw a mini at him? Knock him. Behind you. I love this car. This is my favorite car of all time. Not for any particular reason other than Too Fast, Too Furious, Paul Walker. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Hey bud, welcome back. Celebrity spotting of my brother, my baby brother. What's up, pal? What's going on, little man? Did you have your lunch? Yes, okay. Are you back to be with me or to play with a computer? I can sense a devious smile. I can sense it. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, hey there. You're on the way back, bud? Get comfortable. Enjoy yourself. Stay a while. Stay a while. My room is your room. My room is everybody's room, man. Come on now. Come on now. Beautiful. To anybody watching this as well, happy Mother's Day to the mothers out there of the world. Y'all all deserve it, but remember, don't be disrespecting men like you didn't come from one either, you know? Let's calm the hell down. Modern dating. You know. Life could be a lot more blissful than it is. There's a reason why, you know. Sperm swims to the egg and all, but you know, sperm doesn't want to swim to the rotten egg. That's different. That's a whole different shebang. Sperm would rather not eat. What is Goku shooting at? I'm sorry, did y'all just not see these guys? Dude, you better turn around. Where are you going? Dude is not fighting with his team, wow. Here we go. Here we go. I mean, I want to talk about where your shots are going. Oh, sister. Oh, girl. Alright, these snipes are nasty. $17. Alright, this gun's kind of nasty. Oh, this gun's nasty. Good for them. Alright, thanks for watching. Until next time.